Dear State Secretary Mr. Bierfeld, dear Justine Livu-Lin, ladies and gentlemen, I've never been in such an environment, such a nice Rathaus, and I'm very proud of this. I was very often here, but I never gave a talk in this room. It's a wonderful building. On behalf of the local organizers, the GIGA German Institute of Global and Area Studies, I would like to welcome you to Hamburg and to this very important international conference, which brings together researchers and decision makers from many countries and institutions. The title of this year's PEGNET conference is Poor Countries, Poor People and the New Global Players. The topic is very adequate as the emergence of new global players has important implications for economic development and poverty reduction in other parts of the world. These powers, which we call regional powers at the GIGA, are challenging the United States and the European Union. The regional powers use their respective economic, hard, structural, soft and smart power in order to influence international decisions. Brazil, China and India are regional and increasingly global powers. They have a considerable role in the global political economy, individually and collectively. These powers contribute to the redistribution of wealth and power in the global political economy. These nations alter the gravity centers of the world. They're also reaping advantages from their growing soft and smart power and their growing collective power in global affairs. They play an increasingly important role in international relations and have become global powers in some arenas. In addition, their development paths are seen by many as role models of economic development. This is why it is not only important to understand their impact on the developing world and the world's poor, but also to have a close look at the pattern and characteristics of their development paths. This conference will therefore address two questions. First, which are the impacts of the new global players on poor countries and poor people? And second, what can be learned from their development experiences? That is, do they really serve as role models for economic development in general and inclusive growth in particular? Among the regional powers, China, India and Brazil stand out as global actors. One could say of India and China that they have achieved the status of global economic powers, even though they continue to be viewed as developing or middle-income countries on the basis of their per capita income. That is to say that before becoming wealthy, they achieved an important share of the world GDP. This size and economic strength is reflected in rising economic and political influence. China's economic impact is felt worldwide. It needs minerals and oil for its own development, and it acts as a base for manufactured goods. China is now an influential economic and political global actor and is, economically speaking, very strongly networked and internationally. The growing activities in supranational institutions like the World Bank, IMF, WTO and so on are just examples of the growing role of China. China was successful due to a state-led industrialization based on a planned economy that uses market mechanisms and has protectionist as well as open economy elements. China exports today show a technological level comparable to that of Portugal, which has an income per capita that is 3 times higher. China is getting more urban, and it has reduced its poverty as no other country in such a short period of time. Its inclusive strategy is not rhetoric, but a real objective of the state and the society. This is very much needed as fast as economic development and urbanization generate large inequalities within China. Brazil is a middle-income country that has gone through a period of crisis, followed by a period of moderate growth and limited recovery. Its export growth during the last decade was very high, close to 8% on average. Brazil coped well with the financial crisis, as did China and India, and has taken steps forward to become a global power. Economically, the country is in the process of catching up. But GNP growth rates and the industrial value-added growth rates in the last 30 years were quite low compared to those of China and India. Nevertheless, its global and regional activities have been conducive to Brazil's accruing great esteem in the global south and in the G20. Yet, while recent growth has been associated with a decline in poverty and inequality, Brazil still faces tremendous social problems. India is weakly integrated into the global economy and the region, but it is catching up based on a high growth rate for exports. It has positioned itself towards medium and high-range export products and has moved from low productivity agriculture to modern sectors of the economy. India is without doubt exerting more global influence, but India is poor. Its infrastructure is hardly developed: roads, harbors, electricity, airports, and only a few sectors are competitive. Since its independence, the issue of poverty with India has remained a prevalent concern. As of 2010, more than 37% of India's population still lives below the poverty line. Industrial growth rates have been very different in China, India, and Brazil over the last 30 years. While Chinese and Indian industries succeeded because they combined growth with technological upgrading due to a rise in total factor productivities, Brazil and other regional powers failed to catch up technologically to the leading OECD countries. Due to their technologically determined development based on large markets with economies of scale, China and India can partly exercise economic leadership. China has invested much more in R&D infrastructure. R&D spending has increased by approximately 10% over the last 10 years. In both countries, an innovation system is on the rise, which will change economic activity, the economic structure, and the society. Brazil, China, and India are main forces in the development of international technical and economic norms and standards in international security, in peace missions, in conflict regions, in climate and energy politics, and issues related to currency and the global economy. They provide alternatives to Western global order, and they articulate a desire to strengthen international institutions and their own representation in these institutions. So far, the regional powers are constrained in playing a more active role in the region and in global affairs by their own internal weaknesses and vulnerabilities and their lack of followers. And so far, the regional powers do not have a defined and comprehensive global and regional governance strategy. And for instance, today China is not ready to play a substantially greater role in global governance. They are still learning how to build up global and regional governance capabilities. If these countries continue to grow as they did during the last decades, if they form effective alliances, and if they build up economic plus soft and smart power, and if they provide public goods, they can shift global distribution. Clubs as BRICS or IPSA could get more powerful, reshape the world, and contribute to global and regional solutions, including climate change, energy security, peace, stability, monetary integration, poverty reduction, and development. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a stimulating conference, good discussion, and hopefully a sunny stay in Hamburg. Thank you so much.